Hello, everyone, and welcome back finally to another episode of Russell's Movie Reviews. And today, I think, Matt, this is a pretty monumentous occasion because this is going to be the end of the Spider-Man marathon, ladies and gentlemen. And I think it's kind of ironic since, as of the day that we're recording this, it is July 30th. Tomorrow, we are getting the fourth installment in Tom Holland's series, which is Brand New Day. But I think for our current Spider-Man marathon as of this point, this is gonna be the last one that we talk about. And man, do we have a high to end off on, because this one is the one that I think both of us, Matt, for the longest time we had never seen. We had heard so much about this one, but due to circumstances on both of our ends, both of us neither got to see this, either when it initially came out back in 2023 or ever since. But finally, for the upcoming release of Brand New Day, we thought, you know what? Let's end the Spider-Man marathon off with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is the sequel to Into the Spider-Verse from 2018. If you were a Spider-Man fan around 2023 or even 2022 when this film started getting teased, you will understand the fucking hype that was centered around this on all fronts. I mean, Matt, I think we like literally just started talking to each other by this point, and we were both in the hype train for that. Because holy shit, because I think at this point we just barely saw Into the Spider-Verse together or some shit like that. Then all of a sudden we started getting the hype for the sequel, which was Across, and yeah, it was insane. But what did we ultimately think about it 3 years past it? Well, we're obviously going to talk about that as the review goes on. But before we get into that, let's go into the details first. This was made with a budget of $125 million. Domestically, on its original release, it made around $381 million. And worldwide, it made almost $700 million. So it was definitely a success, which is to be expected coming from the film that won Best Animated Picture back in 2019, I think, when it was nominated. And this was directed by three different people, actually, and I'm probably going to butcher these names looking at it, but this was directed by Joaquim dos Santos, Pep Powers, and Justin K. Thompson. And this was released on June 2nd of 2023. Normally, around this point, we would go into our prior history with the film, but like I said, this was the only one we hadn't seen until literally a couple days ago. And like I said, we were around we were there at the time of the hype for the film, but again, we never saw it when it came out, and never since. We don't really have any prior history to this, so this is kind of us going into it completely blind. Matt, is there anything you want to like mention real quick about your thoughts on the Across the Spider-Verse before we really get into the meat and potatoes?
Across the Spider-Verse was legit like one of these Spider-Man films that I hadn't seen that I just like really wanted to see because I've seen clips of it. Now finally that we have seen it, I just cannot wait to talk right into it. There are a lot of things that were really good about this film.
All right, well, yeah, let's get into the story. After reuniting with Gwen Stacy, Brooklyn's full-time friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, that in Miles Morales, is catapulted across the multiverse, where he encounters a team of spider people charged with protecting its very existence. However, when the heroes clash on how to handle a new threat, Miles finds himself pitted against his other spiders. He must soon redefine what it means to be a hero so he can save the people he loves most. So already this is a wild turn for a Spider-Man movie, because typically it's your bog standard superhero story where Spider-Man goes up against the random villain for that particular film, and obviously the conflicts that happen throughout. But this time, especially watching this for the first time, I came to realize that there wasn't really a particular villain like that Spider-Man must face, really. It almost feels like that this was more of a character piece more than your typical superhero tale, which I guess in a way is following, it makes sense considering the fact that it falls into the Spider-Verse, which also focused on that, but I guess it had more of a superhero feel because there was an ultimate villain with Kingpin, and how he like his desires caused the whole film to kind of be shaped. Whereas this one, it kind of feels like that it's like, okay, we already had like our villain, really, so let's focus more on the characters and how they've grown since the last one, and will continue to grow over the course of this film and the next one, which I actually kind of like. I like the fact that they actually do more of a character piece. which we will get to when we start talking about the cast and stuff like that. But I think that this is something that I think superhero films should try and do more often. Should this be the norm? I don't think so, because that would make films like this less special in the long term. But I do like the fact that it decides that it wants to tackle more of the beliefs on being a superhero instead of just what it is, what a superhero does on its own. So I like that. You want to comment anything on that?
I think with this film, it does, kind of work because, obviously, since we're going into something new, I guess like in this series of the Spider-Man films, I think in Into the Spider-Verse, it works like where you have obviously Miles, who's the main lead, and then you have, Kingpin as like I think the main villain for that. So I think that kind of works. But then since now we're going into the sequel for Across, I do like how it kind of shifts over to like the other characters because they're not really villains. I do like how we get to like focus and learn more about these other characters, even though they're not technically villains. You know what I mean?
I mean, we're gonna get on to that as we go forward. So I guess if anything, let's start with, I guess you could say technically our two main leads for this, because while Into the Spider Verse really does focus around Miles Morales and how he grows from someone who doesn't want to be a Spider Man to finally accepting that, like, okay, this is who I've become. Let's embrace that. This film decides and goes and makes our main lead into two. So now we have not only Miles Morales being reprised by Shamik Moore, but also Gwen Stacy being performed again by Haley Steinfeld. It actually focuses on their emotions and how they've grown since the first film and how they're taking on the responsibility. I mean, I'm going to go into this immediately. One of my favorite scenes is literally the opening, where it's like what, the first 20 minutes or so, and it's all focused on Gwen. Because you would think, like, starting off with this, you would go, okay, it's a sequel to Across, so we'll focus, we're going to jump straight into this with Miles. But no, we actually start with Gwen, well, not only more on her backstory, but how her life has unraveled since the events of Into, which I actually really like. I like the fact that out of all the other Spider-Men and women that were in Into, Gwen was probably my favorite in terms of her character in Into. Like, you obviously have Peter B. Parker, which we'll get to. You had Spider-Man Noir, played by Nicolas Cage, Spider-Ham, and like Penny. But I think out of all of them, I think Gwen was the most promising one, because she had the backstory before from all the other comics and stuff like that. So I think she had the most potential. And to see them finally really focus on her, I was like, oh shit, like, this is cool. I like this. And I gotta mention this real quick because I was not expecting this when we watched it. We get a further explanation on her backstory and how Peter was the one who died in her story. And it was for some reason played by fucking Jack Quaid, which I was not
Yeah.
expecting. I heard Peter talking in your universe, and I was like, wait a minute, the fucker sounds familiar. And I look it up, I'm like, son of a bitch. It's literally just it's Jack Quaid, which if you guys are a fan of like TV shows nowadays, you would probably do recognize him from a lot. So to see him in there, I was like, you know what? That's kind of a nice detail. But the whole backstory with him and how he ultimately dies for in Gwen's story, to then I guess getting to the point where she fights, I think it was Vulture, I think.
Yeah, it was
And
Vulture.
how it already sets in stone, like, well, I mean, because we already had it in the previous one, but how this one really sets in stone, like, okay, we're really going to be dealing with the multiverse. You see, like, Vulture, he's kind of glitching out. He's causing shit around the building that he's trying to destroy. Like, things are fucking up and, like, popping out of existence. And then we see one of the portals open up, and I think it was Jessica Drew, which we'll get to later. How she just pops up with a motorcycle and she starts, like, driving around. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're really expanding on this. And then we obviously got the big one for this film, Miguel O'Hara showing up and being like, all right, no fucking around. Let's take care of this guy before he fucks up anything else. It cemented that, like, okay, we're going to be dealing with a lot of things here, and you may not like it on a thematic standpoint, especially with how Gwen's dealing with it, because she's like, what the fuck? Like, who are you guys? But then she's like, all right, I got to still do my duty. And then the conflicts with her dad, it was like, that whole intro bit was insane. And I was like, wow, this is already off to a great start. And then we obviously jump back to Miles and see how he's doing. He's definitely in the rocky steps of his Spider-Man career because he's like, he has the charm down 100%, but god damn, he struggles taking down his villains. I mean, like the whole fight with Spot, god damn. Like,
Yeah, that was the whole thing.
I love Miles. I'm gonna make this clear right now, but I like the fact that end of the first film shows that okay, he's finally willing on accepting being the Spider-Man that he finally should be. But then in this film, it's like it's clear the start of his career because he cannot balance shit well. And I also like that because you have the serious intro with Gwen, and you have the comedic one with Miles, where like I said, he's just struggling with it, and then the banter between him and his father, who is the like I think the captain, or he no, he's going to become captain, and the back and forth between the two of them is funny. I love the interactions between both of them. One thing about the whole Miles and Dad interaction that I love was during the fight, they go to where the original collider was from the first one, which I actually kind of like how they went back to that, and how Miles is trying to fight Spot, and then the dad's like kind of just like accidentally intervening with all this shit. Miles is trying to fight Spot, but then his dad's talking to him in the background, and he's like trying to like fucking shut up, Dad, or cop, whatever the fuck, and then he gets dragged, and because the captain's holding on to him, he gets dragged into it. There's literally like a frame where it just cuts to Miles's dad's face, and his face is like the basically the personification of oh shit, I fucked up, and I'm gonna throw the frame in here. Holy shit, it caught me so off guard, and I broke when I saw that because it's something that you don't expect to really see in there, and they just added it, and I love that. I love that attention to detail. Yeah, overall, like that, the whole interaction between Miles and the family was really needed. Something I actually just remembered for the Spot fight was that Miles' dad texting him about a school counseling meeting that he's supposed to be going to, and he's not because he's fucking being Spider-Man. It's the whole comedy bit of them going back and forth, and then Miles finally he beats him down, and he goes back to his apartment, or I guess his dorm from the first film, which I like that they brought back. And, he's talking to his friend and everything. And if you look at it closely, his friend is playing with a PS5 controller. And you look at the monitor, he's playing a Spider-Man game. So we were like, okay, that looked, and we managed to clock it that like it was one of the Insomniac games. So we're like, okay, that's actually a nice detail. But then I thought about it and I was like, wait a minute, what if it's Spider-Man 2? Because Insomniac Spider-Man 2 came out the same year as Across. I think it was like October, I think. So I was like, there's no shot, right? It's Spider-Man 2 footage that they're using here. And sure enough, we looked it up after, and it was confirmed that it was early test footage for Spider-Man 2, the game, that was being played in Across. Like, they had access to the footage, and they decided to use it. And I was completely blown away by that because I purely just guessed on that. And it turned out to be true. So, as big Spider Man fans as we are, we love, particularly Matt, loves the Insomniac games. So, the fact,
Oh, you already fucking know.
So with that, and another thing that we're gonna mention later on, like these like little nods to the Insomniac games really tickled our fancy when we noticed it. And like I said, it's more where that came from, which we'll discuss later. And then we slowly get like the family development between Miles and his parents, which I like because on the one hand, we didn't get that much focus on them in the previous film, more of his dad. But now this film really shines a spotlight on his mom. I think her name's Rio, I think, if I'm correct, played
Yeah,
by Lana
Morales.
Lauren Velas. I think that's how you pronounce it. And I like the fact that they gave her more of a spotlight in this because it's showing that him accepting the role of Spider-Man, it's tough. It's going to be tough. And it's straining the relationship between him and his parents. But it also shows that they still care about him. And they're not just like, oh, he's disappearing more and more. Where the fuck is he at? So having the development between them build throughout, especially between the mother, I think was really needed. Not saying that the dad didn't get any development. I think he did get a little, but he did also mostly get that in the previous film. So having him kind of take a step back on that and having the mother be more the family centric part of the story, I think was actually quite nice. What did you think, Matt, about the whole mother bit?
It definitely showed Miles and Rio their relationship more, which I kind of liked on how they focused on them more since like Miles is like I think he's 15. It's starting to get rough, like dealing with him being Spider-Man. So like from where he's at, like it's been rough with him on how he's going through, but to see him with his parents more, I do think that is more emotional and it's a nice touch. So I do like that on how we get to see more of them.
And then yeah, like obviously we got to get to the big thing about the film, and that's really exploring the multiverse. Where after he kind of has the conflict between him and his parents, he follows Gwen and discovers that she is working on trying to stabilize the multiverse with all these different rifts that are popping up, especially with Spot kind of in his own way starting to ripple the multi like verse a little, but now he's becoming power hungry and now is like, you know what, I'm about to fuck up this whole multiverse. I like the fact that they actually call back to the first film with his backstory, how he was apparently one of the scientists working at
Alchemax.
he was ultimately changed by the end events of the first film where Kingpin was trying to set up the collider so that he could see his family again, and how obviously Miles fucked up his plans. So he resents Spider-Man on that. So he's like, all right, Miles. Well, obviously he doesn't know his identity is Miles, but I'm saying for simplicity's sake. He's like, all right, Miles, you fucked up my life. I'm gonna fuck up your life by fucking up the multiverse. So he goes into I'm not gonna remember all these different fucking dimension names because Jesus Christ, there's so many in this. So many they just plaster in your face. Like, all right, here's this one, here's this one, here's this one. Like,
Yeah.
what? He follows Gwen, who's trying to chase him down, into I think it's India. As they're trying to chase down Spot, we get introduced to another Spider-Man. This one is, I believe, Pavitur Brahaka. I most likely fucked up that name. I'm gonna put the name there, and he is voiced by Karen Sony. I like his kind of upbeat vibe, I guess you could say, where he's like, I guess he's like kind of one of those Spider-Man that doesn't really take the job super seriously. He knows he could do everything. He knows he could save almost everybody, so he kind of just goes along with it for no fucking reason. So he's like, oh hey friends, I'm gonna help you, defeat this guy, and we're all gonna be safe. And then as the fight goes on, it's not looking well. And then I believe Spider Punk shows up. Fucking love him in this. He is the
Oh yeah,
like
he's good.
chill, don't give a fuck, couch potato kind of personality that we all have met that one time. And I fucking love it. Like his interactions with Miles as the film goes on is hilarious. Yeah, so they all kind of meet together and they're fighting, and ultimately it leads up to where Spot gets to the building in this Earth and sets up the collider and ultimately goes through it, fucking everything up, causing like basically a chain reaction earthquake where everything starts fucking up, and what ultimately leads to, I believe it's the chief police of this Earth, where and who is the father of this Spider-Man's girlfriend, and Miles saves him. So you think, oh, okay, everything's good and everything. We saved the day. Yes, there was a little bit of collateral damage, but let's be honest, what Spider-Man doesn't do collateral damage in one of his films? Or just really any superhero in general. So you think everything's fine, but then we get the cleanup crew. It's Jessica, and she's like, all right, give me the synopsis. What the fuck happened? Because something didn't go to plan how it should have. And it starts playing the seeds on what's happening. After some back and forth, they decide to bring Miles to the HQ. And my god, the reveal of like the Spider Society headquarters, holy shit, was it
That was
breathtaking.
fire.
It's on the one hand breathtaking that it's like in this city, but then also when you go inside, the amount of different Spider-Mans in here is holy shit. Like, I think just to name a few, because there's no way we're gonna point out all of them. There's probably videos out there pointing out like, oh, this particular Spider-Man showed up at like hour minute or some bullshit. We're not gonna do that. But to mention a few, Matt, you clocked this one early on that Insomniac Spider-Man showed up, and I was not expecting that one bit. I know you got hyped for that shit.
Yeah, that was That was insane
He's
seeing that.
in that particular Spider-Man. I think he was scanning over some of the containers with some of the villains. Which, speaking of, we get a surprise cameo from Donald Glover, which I was not expecting at all. Like fully, like he's
Yeah.
not voicing a character or something. It's just Donald Glover, like fully human and everything. And he has a full on conversation with Miles, and I'm like, what fucking fever dream am I watching here? Because you're not expecting like the animation and like real life hybrid of this film, but they go for it. And there's way more in this film. Like if you want, like if you thought that No Way Home was Spider-Man eye candy, this film beats it by a grand fucking mile. And
Oh yeah. I was gonna
you could
mention though,
go
like
on, man.
with the whole with Donald Glover like being there, I think the reason why that he was there was I think at some point, I think I do remember seeing him as a character in Spider-Man Homecoming, which is in Tom Holland's universe, but I'm not sure like if this is supposed
Ooh.
to be in the same universe or like if this is just a completely other universe that he's in, but I think he was like actually the Prowler
Yeah,
I because I
in this
noticed the
he was the
suit,
Prowler.
and so like now I'm thinking like, wait, could he be the Prowler in Tom Holland's universe, or like is he just the Prowler in a whole other universe that we don't even know?
I tend to believe it is a different universe that Donald Glover's just all of a sudden in. But that is a good point that you brought up. We could see Donald Glover as the Prowler in Tom's universe at a future point, which I would totally kill to see. But that is a good point that you actually brought up. I actually kind of fuck with that. But anyways, going through the Spider Society HQ, we get introduced to some other Spider-Man, like we mentioned before, the Insomniac one. We also see again Donald Glover as the Prowler. We see like other ones here and there. We also get introduced to what I guess we could say is the head computer tech of the whole thing. I believe it's Margot Kess is her character's name, and she's voiced by Amandla Steinberg. And I actually really liked her, even if she didn't get that much screen time. I like her presence as like the head honcho of the tech of the whole area, which I do like. But then we get reintroduced, or I guess mainly introduced now, to one of the big players of this film, and that is Miguel O'Hara, being voiced by Oscar Isaac. And holy shit, was the hype around this character not fucking insane when this film was first announced? Because I don't know we got anything at the time that Miguel O'Hara was popping up in this. I think the first time we got into word of it was when the first trailer dropped and we saw a good look at him and we were like, oh, that's how we're doing it.
Well,
Interesting.
we did see the post credit scene from
That's
Into, and
right. And that's something
they
that
showed him.
that's something we actually didn't mention in the Into review that we did before, was that there was a post credit scene where we actually did see Miguel O'Hara. And I guess what was a early design for him, because if you actually compare the suits between the post credit scene of Into and what he looks like now, the suits are actually pretty different. Like I think the spider emblem on the chest is different. I think the red, I think it goes more up on the new suit in this compared to the original, where I think it gets cut off. And like there's some other details as well where we noticed it and we were like, oh wow, they actually changed it in like the 5 years they had, which I thought was interesting. We get reintroduced to Miguel here, and boy oh boy is he pissed. What had happened was that back in India, when they were chasing down Spot, Miles might have fucked up the multiverse a little, because the whole thing about that universe was that it was supposed to be the police chief that died during that earthquake bit, and that would cause the Petrov's Spider-Man to become the Spider-Man he was supposed to become. But since Miles saved him, that put the multiverse into all sort of whack. I love the fact that they pointed out as well that like that Gwen tried to stop him, because Gwen was like, okay, no, but this is how it's supposed to go. But Miles, being Spider-Man and having that drive in him, he's like, no, I gotta save these people, and he ultimately fucked it up. I mean, obviously more by fucked up the multiverse. So now Miguel's pissed, and he's like, all right, well, let me explain to you how the multiverse works. So we go on this whole exposition on how basically each Earth dimension, each realm has its own Spider-Man, and how a specific set of events are supposed to happen in order for Spider-Man to be a reality in that world. Like, for example, for Gwen in this universe, how his Peter died, and that's what caused her to really become Spider Gwen, and obviously, like the MJs and the Uncle Bens and stuff like whatever. The point is that there's supposed to be a death that causes Spider-Man to really become Spider-Man in every single one of the universes. But there was a glitch that happened where, if you remember in Into, the spider that bit Miles Morales, it was kind of glitching before, but we never really picked up on it. It's revealed here that that spider was transported from a different dimension and got transported to Miles's universe. So technically, Miles wasn't even supposed to become Spider-Man, which would make sense considering the fact that we already had the Spider-Man in Miles' universe prior, voiced by Chris Pine. But then he died after Miles got bitten, and so his dimension kind of had to realign itself in order for it to fix itself, which means someone else has to die in Miles's place in order for him to truly become Spider-Man, which I can find that a little BS considering the fact that if you remember in Into, Miles already had that technically with Uncle Aaron being shot by Kingpin. So why does he need another one? It was something that I didn't really get. I still kind of don't get unless the comments want to clarify on me on that one. Then go ahead. But I thought like that was like a little bit weird how like they were saying, okay, well now someone needs to kind of take that place for you. Where I'm like, Aaron already did that though in the last film. So how the fuck does that make sense? But anyway, Miles kind of fucked up his universe. He needs someone else to kind of take that Uncle Ben place. And Miguel reveals that since his dad is about to become captain, it's probably gonna be his dad that takes the bullet. And Miles isn't happy about that because he's like, well, you told me about this. I can go save him and everything will be fine. And everyone else is trying to tell him, like, no, that's how you, like, that's how it's supposed to be. And at this point as well, we got the introduction or reintroduction to Peter P. Parker, once again voiced by Jake Johnson. And he also has a kid out of nowhere. I know it's kind of random that I'm bringing that up now, but it is kind of the one thing that he has in this film that kind of makes it him kind of stand out compared to everyone else. Is that he actually rekindled his relationship with MJ in his universe, and they had a baby. So yeah, he has a happy ending. Anyways, to get back on track, basically everyone's trying to tell him that he has to let this happen or else the multiverse is gonna fuck up again and cause a catastrophic event to where it can end all realities. And I think as well we got when Miguel's trying to explain that, this whole thing about how everyone has like their Uncle Ben. We got footage of Andrew's Peter seeing Captain Stacy's death, which I was like, okay, that's kind of a nice callback. I was not expecting that. But then we also got like footage of like Toby Spider-Man seeing like Uncle Ben's death and like several different like
yeah.
animated shows and like games and like we were literally going through the entire thing for Miguel to explain to Miles that you have to basically have your Uncle Ben in order for your timeline to kind of reshape itself back to normal. And unfortunately, it has to be your dad. So Miles is like, I ain't taking this shit. I'm gonna go back and save him. And everyone's like, maybe don't do that because we like our universes and we don't want them fucking not existing. And Miguel is trying to just keep him down, just wait, don't go. Then he traps him in a fucking force field, and he's like, all right, he's not ready. He needs to learn that this needs to happen, or else nothing else is going to be good. And Miles like, all right, well, fuck all of you. I'm going to escape and cause the entire HQ to start chasing him, which ultimately is one of the best scenes in the film visually because seeing all of these different Spider-Man chase after Miles is so insane. I mean, obviously, I got to bring up the one moment that everyone talks about when this film gets brought up in discussion where Miles escapes and how everyone's kind of, all the other Spider-Men who are not in the HQ are kind of just chilling and everything. All of a sudden, Miguel pings everyone saying, all right, guys, Spider-Man has escaped. And of course, you have the classic meme where the guy's like, "Wait, you? Wait, is it you? Is it me? Is it you?
Yeah.
You?" And it's like, no, it's fucking Miles. It's Miles Morales. And I was like, oh, okay. So where is he at? He's like, he's coming out of like I forgot where it's at. It's like cell block 4 or some shit like that. It's like this one Spider-Man walks out and everyone's like looking at him like, is that him? And he's like, what? Do I have something on my shirt or on my face or something? And then you just see Miguel running by like, he's on your back. He's on your back.
He's
And he
on your
turns around
back.
and it's just like, hi. And everyone's like, all right, get his ass. And then she just start going for him. And the visual look of this whole sequence of every Spider-Man chasing him is
It's
visually
fire. It's so
stunning.
good.
You see where the time and effort really got put into this. This film is so fucking colorful. I mean, I forgot to mention this earlier. Into the Spider-Verse was colorful enough. The visual look of that was amazing. This film takes it and brings it up to a whole new fucking level. But I mean, Matt, like before we get on to this, do you want to, I guess, discuss your whole feelings about Miguel and the visual look of the film before we get too carried away?
The whole sequence with Miguel explaining everything about like the canon events to Miles and like seeing all the different Spider-Man there. Oh wait, Russell, I'm not sure if you mentioned this. Did you mention that the Spectacular Spider-Man was there as well? And he had his own line.
No, I did not, and I was gonna mention that. I completely forgot. Nice call on that. When Miguel's explaining about that whole thing, there's like a couple Spider-Man that come up to him and be like, "Hey, you kind of have to let this happen. Like, this is our destiny." And yeah, Spectacular Spider-Man just shows up out of fucking nowhere, and I think it's actually voiced again by Josh Keaton, if I'm
Yeah,
correct.
it's
So
yeah,
that was
which
a
is
complete surprise, and if I'm correct, Matt, that's one of your favorite portrayals of Spider-Man in general.
like in terms of like the cartoon shows, yeah, the Spectacular Spider-Man show is like one of my favorites in terms of like the TV shows. I still need to put you guys onto that shit.
Yeah, I need to like that and the '90s show.
Yeah,
I need to get around to.
that whole sequence though, like with just Miguel like explaining all the canon events and like just seeing all the like the Spider-Man there and just showing all of the events from like the other universes, like how we saw like Andrew with Captain Stacy from 2001, we saw Toby with Uncle Ben from the first Spider-Man film. Like that whole bit was probably like my favorite part or like one of my favorite parts in the entire film. And then we got the whole chase with all of these Spider-Mans just going after Miles. Like that was like the other part that was like so fucking good. And that honestly might be my favorite scene in the entire film. But
Yeah, that one's up there too. Honestly,
that
like
that whole bit was just fire.
yeah, like the whole visual look of that was great. As the chase is going on, you have at first it's Peter B. Parker trying to talk him down and be like, "Hey, like really should not be doing this. Like this is our destiny. Like we have to let this happen." And he's like, "Why won't you let me go?" And we get this reveal that the inspiration that Peter got from Miles in the last film is what made him decide to clear things up with MJ in his universe and ultimately have a kid. Like he was like, that's the reason why I honestly had a kid was that I wanted her to be like you. And that hit. I was like, "Oh,
Yeah, that hit.
that I was not expecting that." But that only made the whole chase bit like it hurt a little bit more because you're like, he's obviously trying to help him, but he's also like trying to calm him down and be like explain to him like this has to happen. Like, unfortunately, whether or not you like it or not, we have to do this. The chase goes on. We get outside the buildings, and we're just in the city. And then we go on to the train. The visual look of, especially the train bit, where you literally see like the streaks flying past to show the velocity that these characters are going at is insane. And then ultimately Miguel catches up to it and pins Miles. Just ultimately tells him like, you have to let this happen. As much as you don't like it, it's something that you're gonna have to live with. Like we all did. Then we get one of the big bombshells of the film that as much as Peter and Gwen have been trying to help him, they knew about everything with Miles, about how he wasn't supposed to be Spider-Man and how he shouldn't have caused the events in India in that universe, how he really shouldn't have gotten bit by the spider. Everything that he thought and everything past the events of Into was just them trying to build up him. That bit crushed me because on the one hand, they didn't want to do it. You could see the look in their face that like we didn't want to do this, but we had to. And the look of disappointment on Miles's face when he realizes that they were in on it was insane. And that I was like, shit, this was all in the plan. They knew that Miles would do certain things to get up to this point and they would have to stop him. The whole questioning on whether or not this is morally right or not, just letting a person die just so that the multiverse can reassemble itself and fix itself. It all comes to a head here, and it's like, holy shit, like this film's getting deep. And it's something you did not expect from a Spider-Man movie out of all things. Like you think, oh, it's like you're gonna have your serious moments, but nothing thought-provoking like this. But yeah, ultimately it leads to Miles having enough of his shit. And what is the line that he says there? It was like, fuck. It was like, and everyone's trying to tell me about how my story's
Oh
supposed to
yeah,
go.
it's supposed to go.
Nah,
Nah,
I'm gonna do my
I'm
own
gonna do my
thing.
own thing.
The bad ass. And he's like, all right, Shock, fuck you. And he just sends him flying down the fucking the train. And it's like, that shit was insane. So it basically like Miguel does a Wii Sports moment where he just fucking gets a strike on like 1,000 different Spider-Man. It's a mixture of like he's revolting. Like he's not gonna let like the universe play things out. He's gonna do obviously things his own way. But then you also cut back to the betrayal that he feels between Gwen and Peter, how they kept this from him. So he's like, all right, you know what? I'm doing this on my own. So he fucking just jumps off, heads back to the main central power area, and decides, you know what? I'm going back to my own universe. And I remember this one specifically. So he's like, all right, fuck it. I'm going back. Scans his eye. It scans Earth 42. So he's like, all right, I'm going to go home and I'm going to save my dad. Everything's going to be great. He teleports back as Miguel's trying to break through, and he teleports. He goes to his dimension. And Miguel's pissed at this point. He's like, all right, you guys have fucked this up at every turn. I'm going to deal with this. And then Gwen's like, all right, no, if anything, this is my fault. I was the one that kind of clued him in on this in the first place. Let me go fix this on my own. And does he give her a time limit? I swear I thought he did, where he's like, all right, you got like 24 hours to do this or some. I swear it's something like that. He ultimately allows you to take a couple of Spider-Man or Spider-Men with her, and we follow Miles as he gets teleported back to his dimension, or so we think. As it reveals over the last, because I think we had the last like 10 minutes, 15, I think at this point. It's looking a lot greener than
Oh yeah.
we remembered. He's trying to find his way back. He's overcoming the stress of everything that just happened, overcoming the shock of everything that was just revealed to him, and the betrayal of what he considered to be his best friends. And then on top of that, trying to find his way back because he doesn't know where the fuck he landed. So he's trying to find his way back while we're also cutting to Gwen and her trying to find Miles. And Miles finally ultimately ends up back in his room, and his mother walks in, and they have honestly a great conversation where Miles basically explains that, like, I know you're trying to protect me and everything, but like I'm getting to that point now where I can take care of myself, but also I know that you know that I've been lying to you this entire time, and there's something I need to get off my chest. And he reveals to her that he is Spider-Man. And you think, oh shit, big jaw drop moment. Like, you rarely see that. Like, the only time he really does it with like his girlfriend at the time, depending on the continuity, and that's it. The fact that Miles is revealing it to his mom, it's like, holy shit. But then she doesn't act all two-faced about it. If anything, she acts more confused by it. This is supposed to be like a Halloween costume or something. And Miles is confused as all hell. And then we hear a knock on the front door. The door opens, and who comes walking in other than Aaron? You're sitting here. I know for a fact I was sitting there questioning, like, wait, Aaron is supposed to be dead. Why is he walking around here? Meanwhile, at the same time, we see Gwen entering his room, and we hear Miles's mother and father kind of having an argument, but also talking about where Miles has been over the last couple days. Gwen starts talking to the parents and explaining like how, because she already got introduced to them earlier on in the film, but how she goes in and explains to them that like he's trying his best to make you all like proud of him and just at least give him a chance. I'm gonna go find him and everything. And they're just like, okay, just make sure he's good and everything. And then we cut over to Miles. He ends up walking onto the roof of the apartment with Aaron, and he's still sitting there like, what the fuck is going on here? And then he gets stumped on the back of the head, and we end up back in Aaron's apartment in a similar situation that Peter B. Parker ended up in the first film, with him being tied on the punching bag, with Aaron sitting there working on his tech and Miles being all tied up. and he's trying to talk to Uncle Aaron, basically explaining like, I don't know what's going on here. Like we could talk this out and everything. The biggest bombshell I was not expecting at all from this was the reveal of the Prowler. But it's not Aaron because he's clearly standing right there next to Miles as the Prowler enters. And it's revealed that Miles is also the Prowler. Our Miles entered a completely fucking different universe. Because of the DNA of the spider that bit him, it thought that this Miles, our current Miles, was the one that was supposed to be in Earth 42, not his. So it recognized the spider DNA and took him to that universe where Miles is the Prowler, his father is dead, and there is no Spider-Man in there. What our current Miles' universe should have been. And that bombshell was holy shit. Was not expecting that at all. Like I thought this would have been a more neatly tight story that would have led to the next one, kind of like how Into was, but it leaves it on a cliffhanger of, oh shit, Miles is in unfamiliar territory. What the fuck is he gonna do? And on the same time, we cut back to Gwen. She has a whole fucking team with her. Like, you thought that Miguel had like all of these different Spider-Man. Now Gwen's coming in with fucking, I think, Spider-Punk. We also got fucking Penny back. We got Spider-Ham back. We got Noir back. Like, it's the full fucking team
The whole
back in
gang.
action, going to save Miles. And it ends like that. Cliffhanger, see you in Beyond the Spider-Verse. Oh my god. That was insane.
That's something.
I thought for a little while to record our first time reactions to certain movies, and I feel like that one would have been so good to do. Keep in mind as well, this was our first time seeing it as of a couple days ago. We had never seen it before, so we did not know about the twist coming up. Ending it there with no certainties about what's gonna happen next, only for one made this movie so good, like if it wasn't already, but also got me so hyped for what Beyond the Spider-Verse could
Yeah.
ultimately deliver. This whole movie's great, if it wasn't obvious enough.
The whole ending sequence with, like Uncle Aaron and Miles, and then just seeing Prowler Miles, that was just mind blowing. Like, just even before the reveal of Prowler Miles, I was like instantly hooked into like what they were leading up to with that whole sequence.
Yeah.
My mind was just blown for that, and I know that it does leave off with a cliffhanger. I guess it's most people's main criticism about this film is that it does
Yeah.
leave off with a cliffhanger. Although for me, like I could agree, like there could be some films that has cliffhangers, and it can be kind of like annoying because like now you're gonna be like, oh shit, like now I gotta wait for this thing to happen. So I can agree with that. Like I really don't like cliffhangers either in some films or TV shows, whatever. But I think with this film, however, I think it does work because that just builds up the hype for Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Exactly, yeah. I agree with you on that. Like I'm not particularly a fan of cliffhangers, especially when it one feels unneeded, and then also when if like let's say for example the cliffhanger is really good, but then it has like a shitty payoff, then it's like that I don't really like. But this film, the film was already so fucking great throughout that ending it on a great cliffhanger was like, oh my god, this is great. And yeah, like you said, it only just builds up more hype to the next one. First, fun fact, Matt, did you know that the when the rifts start to happen with like Spot and shit, it cuts to like a Lego universe, which is like,
All right,
what the
yeah.
fuck? Like it's random, but it's also kind of funny, like out of nowhere. Did you know, Matt, that sequence was actually animated by a 14-year-old kid?
I actually did not know until you and Boy brought it up during the watch party.
Yeah, so the sequence on this with the whole Lego bit, which is actually called Earth 13122, was actually animated by 14-year-old Preston Mutanga, who was hired after Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who I believe were some of the co-writers for the film. They were impressed by the work that he did on his Twitter videos at the time, like with his work with Lego, and apparently also he recreated the entire trailer to I think Across the Spider-Verse in Lego. So that's what gave him the job to do this little sequence in the film, which I was like, you know what, that's cool. How like these creators are giving the smaller creators on like on the online basis, influence and having their little jab at like seeing like here's your little time to shine, which I like. And I guess speaking on people working on the film. Man, did you know that this film had, quote, over 1,000 people working on it during the production?
I mean, 1,000 people is a lot. I mean, it definitely proves that there was 1,000 people working on it. I mean, just the
The
visuals
amount of
and like,
detail there and the attention to care
yeah, it
definitely
just
showed
looks
it.
really
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Also confirmed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. They revealed that they told Sony the sequel would be about the same size as Into the Spider Verse, but ended up having the largest crew that any animated film ever had at that point, with around 1,000 people working on it. They added that has about 240 characters and takes place in 6 different universes. I think it's a mixture of the amount of characters that we see on screen at certain points, especially during like when we get to like the Spider Society HQ and stuff like that. To see the amount of attention to detail that these filmmakers put into stuff like this is insane. I don't know if the 1,000 crew members, I don't know if that's exactly true. I feel like if anything, it's more referring to the fact that there's probably more of like 1,000 people in the film, which I can totally see because you have all the people in Miles's Manhattan, everyone in Gwen's, everyone in the India set piece, of course, all of the different Spider-Man that we see throughout the film, and especially when we get to the HQ, it ultimately feels so grand in scale that it's like holy shit. I guess one more little detail that I'll mention about more, not necessarily about the film itself, but more about what happened after. This film, just like Into the Spider-Verse, was nominated for Best Animated Picture at the Oscars for I think 2023 or 2024. I don't know exactly which year it was. It was nominated for Best Animated Feature, and most people thought it was gonna win. However, there was another film that came out that same year that, in a way, might have overshadowed Spider Verse in a way, and that film was called The Boy and the Heron, which, if you guys don't know, was at this current point Studio Ghibli's most recent film, and what many people have cited to be Miyazaki's last. For all the hype around it, it also generated a lot of money, had really good positive feedback, and so that was also nominated for Best Animated Picture. So now that the race was really on for which one was going to win, was it going to be another win for the Spider Verse series, or was it going to be another win for Studio Ghibli? Since I believe Spirited Away back in '01. And ultimately, if you guys know about the Oscars around that time, it ultimately landed in Ghibli's favor, and Boy and the Heron won Best Animated Picture for that time.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Let's just say people that were fans of Spider-Verse around the time weren't exactly happy about it. You know, it's getting to a point when your main actor in Shamik Moore, who again voices Miles, goes out on Twitter to publicly respond about Boy and the Heron winning Best Animated Picture with just the one word of robbed. You know you're getting somewhere. And he misspelled it too. I think it was like robed or some shit like that. So that made it even worse. Yeah, that whole thing was just wild. I think on the one hand, it would have been nice to see both Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse both get animated best animated film. But on the other hand, if you are going up against something like Ghibli, you're kind of gonna get outmatched most of the time. On the one hand, I'm like, I get his reaction to it. Like, they won it last time, and now they were kind of, in a way, robbed. But at the same time, you're going up against Studio Ghibli. You're not really winning against that. It's kind of a losing battle there. But I thought to mention it because I feel like if I didn't, then some people in the comments would. I'm not prepared to go be arguing with someone about that bullshit. So, but to ultimately move on, favorite scenes, Matt, if you want to go first.
I think my favorite scenes is when obviously like Miguel shows all the canon events with the other Spider-Mans, like universes to Miles. I think that was very awesome seeing that. And just seeing all the other cameos, I guess, from Spectacular Spider-Man, Insomniac Spider-Man, Donald Glover's Prowler, and just anyone else you could think of for any other Spider-Man. The whole chase sequence after that, like just visual wise, it looked amazing. Like Miguel and like Miles kind of start like going at it with each other, like on the what was it, like a train? Yeah, that whole part I think was really awesome seeing that. And then of course like the ending with the cliffhanger, like I said, I was instantly hooked on seeing where it was going with that. And yeah, I'm just like it just made me even more hyped for Beyond the Spider-Verse, which Yeah, I could definitely see why people were pissed that that shit got delayed.
Yeah, because I think it was supposed to come out 24 initially. Then it got pushed back to I think 25 or this year, I think. And then it got pushed back again to 2027, and I think that's its current final release date. But I guess for me, for favorite scenes, I kind of mentioned it already earlier one. The whole intro with Gwen and like the first like 20 like 15 20 minutes, that whole bit's great, expanding on her character. Another scene that I actually really enjoyed was actually something that we didn't particularly talk about, and that was when Gwen showed up in Miles's universe, and they were kind of swinging around and just shooting the shit, and then they ultimately ended up on that. I forgot what that building was called, but their whole conversation while they're basically sitting upside down and
Oh yeah, that was another good moment.
seeing the city flipped and just having that whole back and forth conversation about how it makes it pretty apparent that they are starting to develop feelings for each other. It's obviously early, so they're like, is it gonna work out and stuff like that? And ultimately, at that moment, they're like, okay, let's wait, but we'll still be friends and stuff like that. And I'm now really curious to see how that relationship will develop in the next film because, and this is something that I brought up when we were watching it. I'm pretty sure we never had a relationship between Miles and Gwen. It was always ever Peter and MJ or Peter and Gwen. And then obviously like there's like the smaller ones like Peter and Black Cat. But I don't think we've ever gotten a Miles and Gwen relationship ever, if I'm correct. So I love the chemistry between them two. So I'm hoping that that's actually a thing and they could actually, make that work. And then obviously my third favorite scene, Miles' escape from the Spider Society. Holy shit, that scene is just breathtaking visually. The fact that it lasts so long too was insane. And then finally, before we get on to our final thoughts and our ratings, the music by Daniel Pemberton, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, who I believe did the score for for the previous film Into the Spider Verse as well. I think the score here was pretty good. To me, it doesn't kind of live up to the great Spider-Man scores like Raimi films or like something like even like some of the video games like Shattered Dimensions or the Insomniac games or stuff like that. I think for this film, and especially focusing on Miles, I think the score really works and fits with the whole Miles Morales Spider-Man vibe. Again, like I said, while it doesn't match up with like stuff like the Raimi soundtracks or like some of the games like Shattered Dimensions and Insomniac games, I still really enjoyed it for what it was able to offer on the table.
Like I thought the score was pretty good. Maybe I might prefer Into the Spider Verse score. You got Sunflower.
Yeah, I think the songs in Into the Spider Verse are definitely better, but that's not saying that Across's songs were bad. Like they were great.
Yeah,
So I guess Matt, I'll let you start off with your final thoughts on Into the Spider, or I almost said Into the Spider Verse, Across the Spider Verse. What did you think overall?
I really fucking liked the movie. It's definitely up there for one of my favorite Spider-Man films. I did put it in my ranking. It is in my top 5 now. I'm not sure like if this is controversial, but I'll just go through my top 5 real quick. So I have Across in my 5th. I have No Way Home in 4th. This might be a hot take, but I have Spider-Man 3 over it, which might be fucking controversial. Then I have Spider-Man 1 in 2nd, and then I have Spider-Man 2 in 1st. I think the only reason why I have the third one, like yeah, like quality wise, I think they're over Spider-Man 3. But for me personally, I've watched 3 a lot of times and like call me like nostalgia blast or whatever. But I just do think for me personally, I could put on Spider-Man 3 and I could really enjoy it still. I can enjoy it, even though many people hate it. I do think the film is overhated a lot. I don't think it's terrible as what people say it is, but yeah, I could just watch Spider-Man 3, anytime, even though if it's not as good as like the first or the second one, I mean.
If anything, there's also Bully Maguire, man.
Yeah, and
That's
I
gonna
mean,
influence
like,
it.
bro, if you say that Bully Maguire is cringe, fuck you. Like, don't talk to me. Like, don't talk to me, bro. Like, I get people in 2007 were probably saying, oh yeah, this shit's fucking cringe. This is not Spider-Man shit. Look at the times now. Have times fucking changed, bro. Like, come on. Have some fucking fun in your life.
I mean, if anything, that Bully Maguire has had a culture impact when literally Into the Spider Verse literally makes a whole fucking point to like make a joke about it. It's like, okay, look, even if this is somewhat cringy, we know it's fucking hilarious and y'all love it. So here, Here's our
Yeah,
callback to it.
yeah, and they freaking added like the dance like in fucking Into the Spider Verse. So like,
Yeah.
and like let's not forget all the memes too.
Oh yeah.
All
Of
the
course.
memes around that dance. Like, holy shit.
Overall, this was a really great fucking time to watch for the first time. I think ranking wise, I'm gonna give this like this is a solid 9 out of 10 for me. What I would classify it
Oh
because I
yeah.
remember that we could do that. We're doing the letter scales for this. I give this like an A minus. I think there are a couple things that drag it a little bit down for me. Just keeping it from perfect, but overall, this is still one of the best Spider-Man films that we've ever gotten. This just barely made into my top 3 Spider-Man films because for me, it's No Way Home at number 5, Into at 4, this at 3, then Spider-Man 1 at 2, and then Spider-Man 2 at number 1. And now that we're technically done, other than releasing a brand new day, which we'll be seeing in a couple days. Matt, I want to ask you something here.
Okay.
This is something that I've been thinking about the last little bit that we've been recording this. Would you be down to do a video of both of us ranking together all of the Spider-Man films
Fuck it, I'm down.
for the
Down
channel?
for that shit.
And we can we'll go over like each placement that we both have and discuss our feelings for each one because I think some of the like the top entries and some of the bottom entries are relatively the same, but I think most of the middle where most of our opinions change. So if you guys are up to see that, let me know in the comments section down below. Technically, as of this point, we're done, Matt. This is it for the Spider-Man marathon, and man, it's been crazy. It's crazy to think that I started this over 3 years ago.
Yeah, which is like, yeah, 2023, which the first few months we knew each other. And it kind of sucks still because I wish that I was there or like
Yeah.
at least a part to be in the like the Raimi trilogy movie reviews. Cause like legit, I joined when you started doing the Amazing Spider-Man
Yeah,
films.
when I started doing
And then after
TASM.
that, if you do plan on doing a Redux review on the Raimi trilogy, I'll be fucking down for that. You already know.
And that's kind of like also part of the reason why I wanted to do the rankings because I know that again you weren't there for when I did the Raimi films, so to really have you go into depth about your opinions on those, I was like, I'm thinking like, you know what, why not? But yeah, so this was 3 years in the making, and we're finally done. I might as well tell all of you guys at home what's going to be coming next for Russell's movie reviews because I know it's been what fucking almost half a year since the No Way Home review. I know that a lot of people have been asking me like where the fuck that's been gone and shit like that. I mean, it was literally a question I had in the Q&A that I had to answer. So I'm sorry that's been taking kind of a while. If you guys have been keeping track of this, we are reaching the end of season 6. We will be finally coming back to Ghostbusters with Redux reviews for Ghostbusters 1 and 2. And we will be bringing Matt along for those, as well as after that, we will be tackling the first FNAF movie. I'm not going to be tackling FNAF 2 at the moment, even though at this point it's almost been a year. And then to end off season 6, I think is something that we will be very excited to come or to cover for the channel. We will be doing the Back to the Future trilogy for Russell's movie reviews, and that will end off season 6.
I had a blast doing these movie reviews on the whole Spider-Man marathon. Like I said, even though I wasn't a part of the Raimi trilogy, I still had fun because this was kind of a new thing for me. You know, in terms of like doing like content, even though like this is more of your thing, but yeah, this was a completely new experience for me, and I would like to be in some other movie reviews, but also like the tier rankings. Those videos could be interesting. I'm very curious to see how that's gonna go whenever we do that.
Yeah, guys, that's going to do it for this review and thus the end of the Spider-Man marathon. I hope you guys enjoyed this whole thing that's been, again, 3 years in the making. If you guys like this sort of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell icon to get notified when future videos are coming out. Also, all my socials will be down in the description below so you guys will know when videos like this will be coming out. Also, give Matt some love and go and subscribe to his channel, not only his main one, but also like his live channel and like his vlog channel because, I mean, I asked him to come along for this kind of midway through. Finally bringing someone really along for a consistent amount of movie reviews was really fun to kind of bounce back off of someone. So thank you, Matt, again for joining me on this. It's been really fun, and I do intend to bring you back for more. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for the next one, which, if I had to guess, the next video that's going to be after this will probably be the vlog. Well, actually, I can't even say that. Will probably be another movie vlog because I need to get those worked on a lot. Especially with the fact that I know I'm going to be doing one for Brand New Day, so I got to get those worked on sufficiently. See you guys in the next video, whenever that might be. Hopefully soon. Live long and prosper. Out.